Hi. So I'm Bree, and I'm the CEO and founder of TRU LUV in Toronto. And we're not making video games, but we're using some games-related ideas and concepts and technologies and creating a new space adjacent to the video game industry. So I'd like to invite us to take a moment to consider the spaces that we're meeting from today. TRU LUV works from the traditional territories of many Indigenous nations. We're primarily based in Toronto and Jajege, cities we've come to know as Toronto and Montreal. These lands and waters have been cared for by the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, including the Kanien'kehá:ka, and other nations, both recorded and unrecorded. These territories remain home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. So let's honor the past and take action in the present by seeking both our responsibilities to the lands that we each reside within and our responsibilities towards supporting their original caretakers. So at TRU LUV, we're seeking to understand what is love, what is responsibility, what is vision, what is technology, how can we live in symbiosis with technology, what spaces are we creating within ourselves and between each other. And for me, what I desire are spaces that help reflect and amplify my better natures, my awareness, compassion, co-creation. And at TRU LUV, we say that we are transforming the internet to reflect and amplify our better natures. We create interactive experiences that organically reflect and amplify. Sorry, just a moment. Ziggy? Ziggy? Come here. Come here. Come here. I have a puppy living with me. So we create interactive experiences that organically reflect and amplify awareness, compassion, and co-creation. And any app could be reimagined with TRU LUV's transformative model. I think we're just going to have to deal with the puppy sounds. Earlier this year, Tim Cook said to us that our opportunity is off the charts. And TechCrunch described us as a venture scalable business to define a new category of entertainment. And The Guardian and the BBC quoted us talking about compassion and love and insight. And we're thinking really big, but we're starting small and moving really slowly and intentionally, really doing a lot of reflection and testing at every step of our process to make sure that we don't end up going in any dystopian directions. So we started with #selfcare, a little experimental testbed app in 2018 where we proved that we can create a different type of flow state than what most of the current application layer depends on to create engagement. And from there, then we put our heads down and we started to work on what we call Eminent AI, which is our curation AI for self and collective development through the amplification and awareness of really good feelings and integrating insight. And then we applied our AI to our organization. We call this the Emanant Organization. So we're sort of testing our AI on ourselves while also working on our own personal development in order to create this type of AI with an emphasis on creating collective flow within our organization. And these type of flow states that we know how to create with deepening connection rather than competition. And we're also working on an unannounced app that I haven't spoken about that I'm just briefly speaking about here, which is a formalization of our eminent organizational practices that I believe has the potential to make current generation social media obsolete. Because imagine a Facebook group that organically, in the way that it relates with your brain, organically helps the group stay focused on what they want to achieve and kind of evolve into a pro-social movement rather than devolve into division. So #selfcare taught us the responsibility that we have. We were just kind of experimenting with other types of using interactivity, and then what we discovered was just really big. We've experienced 100% organic growth. We don't advertise. And the reason is because we found this way to create a different type of feeling with interactivity. So when I was trained as a game designer, I learned that we need to create a sense of rising tension or challenge over time, and that creates a flow state. And what we proved in #selfcare is that we can create a different kind of flow state with an experience of deepening connection over time. So this is not just in the narrative or the aesthetics around the interactive experience, but in the interactive experience itself. So internally now we have a library of 150 alternatives to the gamification curve of easy to hard. And you can think of things like awkward to smooth, empty to full, disconnected to connected. And what we found is that these types of interactions invite people into different states of mind than challenge-based interactions. And they invite people into present and compassionate states of mind in about 3 to 5 minutes. And this is incredibly powerful. And I believe personally that this is better for everyone. So when you create an experience of rising challenge over time, you're leveraging the fight or flight response. The sense of challenge or shock or danger or pressure that we experience in a video game or on social media or in an app that's been gamified instinctively releases adrenaline in our bodies, which makes us instinctively want to win. And then the designer provides us opportunities to win, and that feels good. And what we work with at TRU LUV is the tend and befriend response, which is oxytocin instead of adrenaline. And instead of instinctively creating the desire to win, it creates the desire to take care, to connect, and to find solutions that work for everyone. And I think this is really important because what we know from social neuroscience is that for most people, unless you're a really intense meditator, for most people your stress response will be instinctual and immediate in the moment. You go into a fight or flight response or some other response without choice. But based on mindset and practice, it is possible to cultivate over time which stress response you tend to have. And it's my belief that the current application layer, by prioritizing fight or flight types of experiences, could be training us all to be more reactive and divisive with each other. And I think that makes sense that, of course, the first time we created the internet, we ended up in a place that's fairly adolescent. But now it's time to grow up and think about what other types of interactions do we want to have with each other. And so just some of the feedback from #selfcare. It's like it put me in a trance. It's the most calming app I have. It's different. It changed my life. It's really simple, but it is different. So #selfcare taught us what responsibility we have, and we've been exploring it through our Eminent AI. And this is a curation algorithm that invites us to step through our personal growth edges. So we looked at if we have the moment-to-moment idea of what is love figured out in #selfcare, what's the long-term loop? And we've decided that we believe that love is healing, growth, development, movement, unfolding and unfurling of the self, enlightenment, and concepts such as these. So we kind of looked at every psychological, social, or spiritual model related to movement or growth or development that reflects and amplifies states of mind that we find to be loving. And right now is a really good time to be working on something like this because we're all experiencing trauma in the pandemic. After SARS, people that were affected by SARS had elevated rates of PTSD for several years. And there are different things that can grow out of a traumatic experience for a person. We can experience post-traumatic stress, and we can also experience post-traumatic growth. And the tend and befriend response is correlated with more post-traumatic growth and reduced post-traumatic stress. So technology that helps cultivate a tend and befriend response and then provides the scaffolding for growth is probably pretty good technology for us to all be looking at right now. And this is very personal for me because I've been through 4 major traumas in my life. It's been kind of relentless, I guess, in a way, and maybe 5 now with the pandemic. And I've experienced post-traumatic growth more than once. And the first one was a revelation to me, and that's how I got interested in this work in the first place. So I feel grateful to be working on this now. And so our AI has 3 dimensions to it. Ziggy, come here. Not so much noise, okay? Our AI has 3 dimensions. The first is presence, which is those flow states of moment-to-moment deepening connection that we can create. The second is our energy model, which is a set of unique developmental edges, invitations to growth. We have 24 that we've divided into 5 categories, and eventually that would expand into thousands. We're building the core on 24 that we really believe in. And then the third dimension is transformation. So for each of those energies, we have a model of like cyclical and fractal ways to invite you into developing your relationship with those energies and integrating them back into your self-concept. So our energies are invitations to growth, and they're divided into 5 categories: celebration, or a sense of oneness, curiosity, love, intention, and care. And then our transformational dimension invites you to develop those growth edges. And we start from unity or a safe welcome, and then we go into what are your natural inclinations, what are you naturally interested in? And we find this really important, a key part of our model, that it's not about measuring someone and figuring out where they're at and putting them on the path that we think people should go on, nor, what they necessarily think they're supposed to or should, but rather like what is someone naturally drawn to, what are their natural talents. And then we explore those in the social context and helping to develop an agentic use of this type of energy for the benefit of oneself and one's collective in mutually beneficial situations, and then integration of these new abilities into your self-concept and into your collective practices. And we've built this transdisciplinary algorithm drawing on most particularly our experiences, our lived experiences as marginalized people on our team, and then anything that ever resonated with any of us related to our own healing or growth or development. And we're expanding out the algorithm over time to become more and more inclusive of many ideas. And I won't spend too much time on this slide because I need to get moving through the rest of the content, but this is just, we took a look at the current application layer and best practices for frameworks or processes for development and thought, what is the love version of this? If we don't want business to feel like competition or war, how do we do things to create more compassion or co-creation or altruism? And this is where we've got so far. We've just kind of been looking at like, what can we let go of? What can we kind of unfold into a new way without throwing the whole thing out? And that's where we're at so far with best practices. So the AI, we're just starting to integrate it into #self-care, so we just have a little bit of feedback about it, but my favorite is you're helping me to find growth, balance, and gratitude from an inanimate object, my bedroom walls. And this is our team has been thinking a lot about walls, and I like that feedback. So I don't have much time to go through our organizational practices and how we've been applying our AI inside of our organization, but I'll just cover a couple small things. The first is that we've kind of redesigned meetings to be playful rituals. So we start by bringing ourselves into collective flow with what we call a resonance. And then we do generative activities that stimulate our own psychological development, and also from those activities emerge content that we can channel into our AI and into our community content. So for example, a really kind of simplistic but beautiful example is what is love? And we did this the other day. So first we asked, like, is someone feeling particularly in the energy of love today? And ask that person to do a resonance. So that can be anything from a guided visualization to some stretching to a group activity, just to help share that energy among the group. These kind of things are contagious. And then for generation, we just took turns going around a circle and completing the sentence, love is. Building on each other's ideas, coming to realizations, having a beautiful experience. And then we wrote down all our sentences for categorization into our transformational model. And perhaps someone might feel inspired to write something for the community out of one of these rituals. Another thing that we do that's really important for this type of work is that we spend a lot of time in reflection. So we don't move fast and break things. We do a lot of experimentation and we do a lot of user research, or actually we call them tenders, not users, tender research, but we don't move very quickly. So every day and at the end of every cycle, which is biweekly or every quarter, we take a lot of time for reflection. We really reflect on our connection to our mission, what felt bad, what felt good, and how then we commit to 1 to 3 actions each that we can take like the very next day to resolve anything that didn't feel great, have a difficult conversation, optimize for things that felt really good, suggest changes to our process. We're all co-creating everything we do together. And so coming up with like the way that we want to work that's different than the ways that we've all worked in the past has been kind of a bumpy process, and we're figuring out as we go and we make mistakes. But I think we're in a really good place right now, and this is some recent feedback. And we've actioned as a team 1,098 commitments so far this year. A few at the beginning of the year and then picking up more steam now. And so this is the results of our What is Love ritual the other day. And this, goes directly into our AI with consent from team members for what they share, which we mark individually. But this is how a company can work, and this is how a new category can be created that has the potential to replace the gamification model across the entire application layer, I think. We can infuse our processes and frameworks with love. And we are looking right now, and just tack this on the end, we're looking for a community director. We want to take some of our organizational practices and start expanding them out into our community so that we can make sure that the AI is being created as inclusive as possible as we start to scale it. So if you know anyone, we'd love to hear from you, and this is where you can contact us. So thank you.
Hey, thank you, Bree. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, you definitely had the most love in the session of the day. So we are all curious. Can you please show us your puppy, please?
Yes, Ziggy. Ziggy, come here. Come here. He's 6 months old.
Oh my God.
He's very big now.
Whoa, 6 months and that huge.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How big is he going to be?
Probably 1.5 times this size.
Oh my God. And what's his name?
His name is Syzygy.
Syzygy. Okay,
Yeah.
I guess the chat will be sending a lot of love to your dog now. But coming back to your topic, I was wondering, because the internet is often regarded as like an anarchistic space where toxic behavior and harassment is like daily business. So how do you think technology can change how people behave?
I think we've seen from, like the way that current generation large companies like Facebook have used behavioral psychology to influence how people behave, that it can. And so then going from there, like knowing that technology does, like every technology that we create changes the way we behave, the way that our minds work. There's an argument about how when the phonetic alphabet spread, cultures killed off their goddesses at the same time. So technology does influence human behavior, and so if we can be like cognizant of that and think about what do we want, and then like what set of practices do we need to build up what the audience wants and not what we want for them. That's really key.
Yeah, or at least for the majority.
Yeah.
So what is the biggest discovery you've made, especially when you think about your work on health and technology?
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest discovery we made was that there is a different type of flow state, and that we can use the flow state to like invite certain states of mind, and that the sense of rising challenge is not the only thing we have to play with as designers.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Bree. And I think it's definitely my favorite session of the day because of your dog. He's so cute.
He's really lovely.
Yeah, and he was a good boy. Okay, thank you for being here at the Gamescom Congress. Maybe next year in Cologne.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take care. Bye-bye.